Hello and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be taking a first look at an upcoming tier 8 premium German tank destroyer with a very familiar mechanic. Well, the tank's called the Windhund, and that familiar mechanic, it's going to be the STRV, the Swedish tank destroyer line's siege mode ability. What is it actually going to do for a German tank destroyer? Let's have a look. So, the Windhund is going to be packing 320 alpha damage, which is okay. It's competitive for a tank that is going to have decent DPM with a 7.9-second reload. Its penetration values on paper are quite good. 265 standard AP, that's competitive. 305 gold APCR. Gold APCR with 1450 meters a second shell velocity is absolutely lovely. This thing is going to be a sniper, and it is going to be pretty efficient at doing it. It's got decent gun handling when in its siege mode, because that, once again, that is the party trick of the Swedish tank destroyer. It's going to have 1.4 seconds aim time and 0.28 dispersion base. This thing is going to be accurate. But that is what we come to expect from Swedish tank destroyers, and this is just the siege mode ability being imported straight into a German tank destroyer. Its gun elevation and its gun depression angles are going to be lovely when it's in its siege mode. This tank has a fixed gun. You can see that straight away. So you are going to want to be in your siege mode and going to have to be in your siege mode to be shooting the opponents. It's not going to work like some of the tanks we've had recently, like the GST term, that can play outside of its siege mode just to sacrifice its gun handling. This thing needs to be in the siege mode to be shooting. But it's got good gun handling statistics when it's in it, so you are going to want to be in it. It's going to take 2 seconds to switch into that siege mode, which is identical to the STRV line, and it's going to take 1.5 seconds to switch out of it if you wanted to run away from a position, for example. But generally, that is a very competitive tier 8 tank destroyer in terms of its firepower. Its alpha's lovely, its penetration and its shell velocities really nice. It's got DPM, and it's got that lovely gun handling in its siege mode. Does its mobility stack up? Well, yeah, it does. 50 forwards, 30 in reverse, that's out of its siege mode. That is damn competitive. You are going to be able to take a pretty aggressive position with 50, and then be able to run away from it if you needed to switch out your siege mode and reverse pretty quickly with 30 backwards. In your siege mode, you've got 15 forwards, 15 in reverse, which is really nice for a tank with a siege mode. You look at tanks like the STRV, which are only going 10. 15 is a significant step up. That's really quite comfortable. Power to weight ratios, lovely. Traverse speeds, once again, really quite nice. Remember, this is the tank that is going to rely on those traverse speeds to snap those shots in. It is going to be able to do that. HP, pretty standard actually. 1200 hit points is actually quite nice for a tank that is designed to snipe. We do tend to see some of them have 1100 to 1150. 1200, completely fine. Its armor. This thing looks quite small in profile, but quite tall in height. So it's quite a compact little tank, but quite tall. I don't think this thing's armor is going to stack up as well as the STRV lines, especially when this thing has a huge lower plate. However, its upper hull around its gun does look pretty well angled, so it's probably going to be a case of when it's in its siege mode, when it's using its gun depression, if its lower plate is visible, it's shootable and pennable. But if only its kind of upper hull part, it will probably ricochet some low pen AP, APCR rounds, but be penned by heat ammunition. That's what's going to be the case with this tank. In terms of its concealment, remember this thing is a sniping tank destroyer. It's got lovely concealment on the move, and it's got a lovely concealment while stationary. This thing is going to be sneaky, but we expect that from a tank which is quite small in profile. And its view range is 380 meters, which is actually quite nice. This thing could maybe do a little bit of spotting for itself if you ran a kind of events build on it. So that's the Windhund. Let's compare it to 2 other tank destroyers we have in the game. And I've been talking about the Swedish tank destroyers, so let's compare it to the tier 8 Swedish premium tank destroyer, the STRV S1, and to the Object Kust, which is a relatively new tank we've had in the game, which is a tier 8 Soviet tank destroyer with, once again, the STRV's ability. So the Windhund, winning on DPM, 2430 compared to 2294 for the STRV and only 1800 for the Kust. Lovely, we love that. It has, however, got the lowest alpha in this comparison. 320 compared to 390 for the S1 and 550 for the Cust. The Cust is very much a, I will hit you hard, but not often. The STRV is that kind of lovely middle ground, and the Windhund is going to be, I'm going to hit you for little, but very often kind of tank. In terms of its gun handling, these are obviously within the siege mode. 0.28 is better than the STRV S1, and significantly better than the Cust. So this thing is going to be very accurate. Its aim time is identical to the STRV's 1.4, much better than the Cust's 1.7. In terms of mobility, all of these tanks go 50 forwards. However, the STRV has the Swedish tank destroyer kind of gimmick of being able to go almost as fast in reverse as forwards. The Windhund has close-ish 50 in forwards, 30 in reverse. Doesn't quite stack up, though, to 50 forwards, 45 in reverse for the S1. And the Cust kind of struggles, 50 forwards, 20 in reverse. Gun depression when it's using its siege mode, 10 degrees for the Windhund, not as good as the S1's, 13 however, but identical to the Cust. As I said, the HP for a tank that has low alpha and can snipe at 1200 is really quite bizarre. It's much higher than the S1's 1000 base. It's the same as the Cust, which is almost like a... It can almost play like a brawler in a sense that it's got the higher alpha, so it's not traditionally a sniper. So 1200 is quite strange, actually. It's quite a lovely, actually, HP pool, so it means you can maybe take an extra shot a game in your sniping kind of position. View range, once again, quite strange. 380 meters is significantly better, like significantly better, than the S1's 350 and the Cust's 350. 380 is lovely. As I said, the armor, not that important to talk about because we've already spoken about that, but I don't think it's going to work as well as the STRV lines. However, it might when it's in certain scenarios. Penetration values, the Windhund struggles here. 265 AP isn't as good as the 288 base for the S1 and the 279 base for the Cust, but 265 is definitely still workable. And its gold penetration at 305 just doesn't compete with the 330, which the S1 gets, and the 320, which the Cust gets. However, 305 will still work, especially when you can play this thing like a sniper. With good gun handling, you might be able to pick out weak points, and you might be able to pick off tanks as they cross positions. But that's the Windhund, an upcoming Tier 8 German premium tank destroyer that looks pretty competitive. And as I said, it's a very familiar tank. It is basically the STRV tech tree packaged into a German TD. Because it's got the HP and it's got the view range which German tanks tend to have, whilst maintaining the lovely DPM, the lovely, well, the okay penetration, but the absolutely simply amazing gun handling that the STRV line gets. I think this tank's pretty competitive. I'm becoming a little bit of a tank destroyer enjoyer, and as somebody who's played through the STRV lines, I've always found one of its big issues has been its HP pool. You get really punished if you make a mistake. This thing might be a little bit more of a forgiving kind of STRV experience, while still keeping the lovely gun handling that the STRV line gets. I'm pretty excited for this. This screams loot box tank to me. Kind of a one to get from a loot box tank. As to when we'll see this, potentially this has kind of the hallmarks of being a kind of Halloween loot box tank. So the Waffenträger loot boxes, to me, with the name Windhund, kind of resembles Halloweeny Waffenträger event times. So probably towards September this year, I imagine we'll see this. But do let me know down in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me on my thoughts with this tank? And yeah, if you did like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again very soon.